Welcome into the Morning Edition Extra. I'm Josiah Pike. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday morning. We're going to be taking a look at some of our top stories going on around Alaska and across the country. But to start things off, we're going to look specifically at Alaska because we're going to be showing you what you can expect in your weather forecast. Now with us, as always, is our meteorologist, Aaron Morrison, who can tell us what trends we can look forward to expect. Aaron?
Well, Josiah, the one area we're watching across the state is south central, where some rain showers are sweeping across the region. Outside of that, many areas of the state holding on to fairly dry and pleasant weather. We are seeing that rain, the bulk of it, pushing through the valley this morning, as well as across the Anchorage Bowl. We'll start off the first part of the day with those overcast skies and rain showers. The second half of the day will bring the return to some sunshine. In fact, as this rain pulls off towards the east-southeast and begins to fizzle out, you can see the clear skies on the back side of this. So later this afternoon, we will see sunshine returning. By the time you head home this evening, many areas will be sitting up under mostly sunny to partly cloudy skies for western parts of south central. If you live east of, we'll call it Sutton and out towards the Copper River Basin, we'll largely still hold on to some rain showers and those overcast skies. And we'll keep some of that isolated activity on into your Wednesday, but largely expecting many areas to trend drier starting to later today and then on through the close of the week. The best chance for any of those spotty to isolated showers tomorrow and Thursday will largely be out towards the Copper River Basin, the Chugach Range, and then out towards the Talkeetna Mountains. You can see when it comes to the rainfall accumulation, we'll likely see anywhere from a tenth to slightly higher amounts as you head into the valley. This is where we'll see that potential for a quarter to about half an inch, and those darker blues that you're seeing. Anchorage may see up to a tenth, if not some slightly higher amounts, but due to the nature of this rain, very light that we are dealing with, we shouldn't see any significant rain accumulation. And then overnight into Wednesday, most of that rain shifts east into the Copper River Basin. So we're waking up this morning, those 40s and 50s. There's that rain staying with us as we head through mid-morning, early afternoon. We kind of dry out and we'll see that sunshine making a return. And as a result of that, we'll see those temperatures warming into the lower 60s. So it is going to be a pleasant second half of your Tuesday. And then looking ahead through the rest of the state, what we are going to be watching, that cool weather that is with us due to that area of low pressure off to the north is going to kind of back off, and that's going to allow warmer air to moderate back across the state. So we're going to see temperatures for the interior jump 10 degrees from today on into tomorrow, and that warmth will steadily climb. We'll see the highs for Fairbanks today in the upper 50s, and then as we welcome in tomorrow and then on into the weekend, those temperatures warm into the 70s. We'll also see that touch of warmer air arriving in south central. Now statewide, highs today, 50 in Cold Bay as well as Unalaska, 66 in Juneau, 37 in Kotzebue, 33 degrees in Utqiagvik, and 59 in Fairbanks. For Anchorage, you can see those temperatures do warm as we welcome in this next couple of days. We top out in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tomorrow, we will see some 70-degree readings, more so into the valley, so we'll be watching for that. And then we'll be seeing the potential for some rain showers arriving as we welcome in the weekend and early next week. Josiah?
All right, thank you for bringing us our forecast there, Aaron. Now, to bring you our top story for today, a dangerous kind of vandalism. NSTAR says someone is tampering with gas meters and intentionally releasing natural gas. As Lauren Maxwell reports, it could have serious consequences.
Monday morning, a passerby smells gas and reports it. Turns out,
so it's 20, 30, 40% gas right there.
Someone has tampered with the meter outside Natural Pantry, and natural gas is leaking into the air.
So how serious might this situation be?
It's a potential hazard. It's an unplanned escape of gas, so we don't want that.
This is the 10th meter vandals have hit in less than 3 weeks. It's happened to commercial buildings in Midtown Anchorage like Home Depot and Lowe's. NSTAR says someone is purposely loosening bolts and screws on gas meters, and in one case removing a whole cover plate with the intent of causing a leak.
The actions they're taking are completely deliberate, just to develop a nuisance.
NSTAR wants the public to be aware and know the signs of a gas leak.
That includes smelling gas, which smells like sulfur or rotten eggs. That's good for everyone to be mindful of. And often you can hear a hissing sound at the meter, which is cause for concern.
In that case, leave the area and report it by calling 911 and NSTAR. Officials will respond immediately, but say they're also ready for this to stop. Lauren Maxwell, Alaska's news source.
Now, an update from the Mat-Su, teachers can have guns in schools. The school board approved a new program allowing select teachers and staff to be armed. The policy passed last week with a vote of 5-2. It would allow certain staff members to carry a concealed handgun or a non-lethal security device on school grounds. We asked Superintendent for a comment, but we're told he wasn't available. And a hit to a program that puts safety first. Abate says someone broke into their storage and took multiple motorcycles. As Danny Tompkins reports, that's a problem when summer training time is already limited.
Bonnie Walsh started her morning like any other.
And I was excited to get all my work done. I went in nice and early.
Until her phone wouldn't stop.
Dinging, 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 dinging for all the text messages.
Sometime between the evening of June 7th and the morning of June 8th, Bonnie says thieves broke into Abate of Anchorage and stole half of their motorcycles.
I'm upset, I'm sad.
Instructor John Fry was surprised when he got to the storage connex.
I was first on scene, so very disappointment.
The container's steel bar snapped, and spaces where bikes should be were empty.
This is where we keep all of our motorcycles. Normally this whole row would be full every morning and every evening.
The timing couldn't be worse.
There's never a good time, but this is really, not great. May and June are our busiest months on the range.
The company says roughly 700 riders come through each summer, and classes are booked solid.
And Alaska is such a short riding season as it is. This is going to hurt us really bad.
For Bonnie, it feels deeper than just missing bikes.
We do legislative work to protect motorcyclist rights, and they stole from us. We're a nonprofit. That's terrible. What is wrong with people?
Abate is working with Anchorage police and asking for the community to help.
We need the community help.
Danny Tompkins, Alaska's news source.
Now, shortly after Danny's interview, Bonnie told us 3 of the stolen bikes had been found, but they're still searching for the others. Now, cloudy skies and scattered showers helped crews increase containment on the wildfire near Ambler to 30%. It's burned nearly 1,500 acres. The fire started Thursday at a landfill and is the Kobuk River about a mile from town. No evacuations and no injuries reported, but warmer and drier weather is expected to return. And that's a problem, especially since areas continue to smolder. And one of Palmer's quirkiest landmarks is making a comeback just in time for Colony Days. The famous globe and milepost at the Palmer Visitor Center is back outside, and photojournalist Freddie Wheeler was there for the big reinstall and reveal.
Today we were doing a complete rehabilitation of the famous milepost sign here in Palmer. Yeah. This is a really quite a tourist attraction too. A lot of people come here to the museum. A lot of them want to take their photograph here in front of the milepost sign.
They were built in '69, and they were originally 3 different species of Alaska woods, and they were varnished, and they were natural. And over the years it got painted because the varnish just didn't stand up too well to outside.
Say when you're ready.
Anytime.
We completely redid all 8 panels.
All right. As many hands as we could get sure helped, because some of those boards are pretty heavy.
They weigh about over 100 pounds apiece. It was important to just spruce it up a bit. That's the kind of thing that Lions do. We volunteer to help out the community in many different ways. Yeah, I got bolt here. A lot of the ladies in our club, each one took a panel home, put it in their garage, and did the painting. Hand paint in all of the cities and the distance to them. It's fun to look at the different city names on there and check out the distance to each one.
Good job, Paul. Yeah, likewise.
I'm sure the next generation of Lions will rehab it in a couple decades from now. It'll keep on going.
All right, we're going to be taking a short break. When we come back, we still have more stories to get to. We're going to be taking a look at a nonprofit that's hoping to expand options as Anchorage is beginning to run short on places to bury the dead. And on top of that, we're going to have our political correspondent, Will Courtney, talking to Washington correspondent Stetson Miller about some of the big issues going on around the country today and how they can affect you here in Alaska. So don't go anywhere. We'll have those stories for you when we come back. Welcome back to the Morning Edition Extra. Thank you for staying with us on this Tuesday morning. Now, Anchorage is running short on places to bury the dead, but a nonprofit is hoping to expand options with a unique new cemetery. Joe Allgood spoke with people involved and has the story.
We're all going to die. It's a fact that we can't avoid. And while the place that you choose to be buried is important for some, preserving that place is just as important. Down a winding path across from Moen Park.
Just kind of around this corner here is, I think, the best view shed that the whole park has.
Sits a vacant parcel.
You got a nice breeze. You can hear kids playing at the park. You can hear airplanes, small planes. You can hear the train. And it's just gorgeous. If you can look, see in every direction.
But it may not be vacant much longer.
And we are hoping to establish Alaska's first certified conservation burial ground on this parcel here in Anchorage.
Alaska Natural Burial is a nonprofit who promotes exactly what the name suggests.
If anything, there's more of a conservation aspect to it than anything else.
Whether in a casket or just a shroud, a natural burial uses only biodegradable materials and smaller grave markers, if any at all. Alaska Natural Burial says they want to preserve everything as much as they can. The trees around me, the brush on the ground, even rocks as big as this one behind me.
If you're not aware of it, not looking for it, ideally, you wouldn't know that you were in a cemetery.
In a city that's running out of cemetery space.
To see, all of this beautiful everything around us, why wouldn't you want to be here forever?
Awaiting assembly approval on a parcel transfer from Heritage Land Bank, there's been no shortage of questions.
People are uncomfortable in talking about death in general.
But still, a natural part of life.
The cemeteries can be a place where you want to bring your kids, bring a field trip, come do bird watching, come sit and paint a picture, come have a picnic with your family. That all of those things can be happening in the same place where we are interring people that we love forever.
The Anchorage Assembly could sign off on the land transfer as soon as Tuesday, and once that happens, the nonprofit would begin turning this place into a final resting place. Joe Allgood, Alaska's news source.
Now, in national news, Iran and Israel both said they've agreed to halt military operations Monday after exchanging fire over the weekend. But the development follows a social media post by President Trump calling on both sides to immediately stop shooting. Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
Israel is on edge following overnight strikes by Iran. Hospitals move patients underground while at airports, some Israeli residents tried to get out.
We need the vacation. It's very stressful here in this country.
Israel's air defenses intercepted many of the Iranian missiles, but some got through, including this one stuck in the ground in the West Bank. In Iran, domestic flights were canceled after Israel returned fire, hitting this petrochemical plant and other military targets. The tit-for-tat started as a result of continued fighting between Israel and Iran's proxy Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
With the flare-up threatening to impact negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, President Trump called on both sides to stop shooting.
On social media, he also said final negotiations on peace are proceeding, quote, subject to ignorance or stupidity getting in its way. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Monday that Israel has stopped its attacks on both Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon after Iran announced it would halt military operations. But he also warned that if attacked again, Israel will respond with force. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Pakistan's prime minister, who's been helping to mediate talks between the U.S. and Iran, said on social media that a diplomatic solution or final objective is about to be achieved and urged all sides to exercise restraint and give peace a chance. And we know artificial intelligence is raising questions about everything from education to the future of work, but the Presidential AI Challenge in Washington, D.C. is encouraging students to take ownership of the technology and use it responsibly. A group of students from East Tennessee making it all the way to the final stage of the competition this week. Alaska's News Source's Washington correspondent Stephen Goen has their story.
This group of students beating out thousands of other teams to get to this stage in the competition. Now they're hoping to bring home the win for their school. In the nation's capital, student innovation on full display. All of this are part of the Presidential AI Challenge, which seeks to inspire young people and educators to create AI-based solutions for community problems. The competition starting out with over 20,000 teams from across the country, but only about 40 of them making it to the finals. Among them, this group from Alcoa Intermediate near Knoxville. The goal of their project:
to make sure kids understand their homework, not just get the answers, to understand their homework and to do their homework on time.
We just wanted to create a homework helper app that's basically a built-in tutor for students so that grades go up and they're more successful.
For months in their school's AI club, they even built a prototype of their homework helper on Google's AI platform, Gemini.
We had to code the main frame of what we wanted, and we just started adding little things and tweaking around with it.
And the work wasn't easy.
It was very difficult at first, especially.
But when these students found out they made it from the state level to regionals and then to the finals in DC, they knew it was all worth it.
I've got something to strive for, and it's nice to have that feeling of I'm representing something more than myself.
Beyond the competition, the project also becoming a lesson in how to use artificial intelligence responsibly. The group's advisor says the students quickly learned that while AI doesn't always have the right answer, it can be a powerful tool for problem solving.
So as an educator, it was very exciting to see them having to step through the problem solving process to find the right answers.
In Washington, I'm Stephen Goen.
And now we're going to be hearing from our political correspondent Will Courtney as he talks with Washington correspondent Stetson Miller about some of the big issues going on in Washington, D.C. today and what you need to know about them. So without further ado, we're going to throw it to Will.
Israel and Iran traded a series of missile strikes on Monday for the first time since a U.S. brokered ceasefire was declared 2 months ago. We have our Washington correspondent Stetson Miller joining us now to talk about this and more. Now, Stetson, the two countries say they have halted these strikes for now, but warn that there may be more incoming. How is the president responding to these strikes?
So, well, President Trump called for both sides to stop the attacks and spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone today about them. He apparently told Netanyahu that he might lose U.S. support if Israel chooses to strike Iran again, according to some reporting from the news outlet Axios here in Washington. That's certainly significant. I'm not sure we've heard that kind of talk about the war from the president before, and that may be because there are a lot of concerns today about how this may become a full-scale war once again after what just happened. We know this was a major escalation. Both sides are still saying they're ready to launch more strikes once again. Neither of them have been able to come to any kind of deal despite weeks of peace talks. And we also know that the president has been reiterating that they are very close to a deal, but unfortunately, we still haven't seen evidence of one just yet.
And the president also just dismissed the idea that the Iran war breaks his No New Wars campaign promise. What else did the president say?
Yeah, so in this interview that he did with Meet the Press host Kristen Welker, he said he didn't guarantee no new wars and saying he didn't promise anything. He also made a point to say that the ongoing war in Iran is not an endless war, which is a reference to what he did say in the 2024 campaign trail going after President Biden and the end of the war in Afghanistan that, of course, lasted a very long time. However, there have been a lot of sound bites played today across the national media and throughout Washington, a lot of analysis being made about what the president did say in 2024 about how he did, in fact, promise not to start no new wars. So that's certainly something that the White House has had to push back on, and the president has been defending today.
And then going over to the White House and other headlines, a new federal lawsuit was just filed to try and stop the UFC. That's set to happen. The UFC fight outside of the White House, that's set to happen in just a few days. What else can you tell us about that lawsuit?
Yeah, so this group of people are filing this lawsuit at the 11th hour. It's due to happen in just a few days, and they are claiming that there are several rules and regulations that have been violated here. They claim that there were not the correct permitting followed. They didn't get congressional authorization to start this UFC fight, and they're also saying that this may allegedly benefit the president financially as well as one of his friends. Now, the issue with this is these kind of things do tend to take a very long time to get through the court. So we'll see if the judge takes this up before the 14th when this UFC fight is set to happen at the White House.
All right, lots happening in the executive branch. Our Washington correspondent, Stetson Miller, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Now we're going to be taking another short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about data centers. We're going to take a look at why the U.S. military is looking at potential Alaska military land for new data centers. And on top of that, we're going to be hearing from a zoo in Nashville where there are proposed plans to build a data center right next door. And we're going to hear from why workers there think that might not be a very good idea. So don't go anywhere. We'll have those stories for you and more when we come back. Welcome back into the Morning Edition Extra. Thank you for staying with us on this Tuesday morning. Now, the Pentagon is looking at Alaska military land for possible AI data centers. Now, that includes Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, Clear Space Force Station, and Eielson Air Force Base. Now, including 5 parcels around Eielson. The Air Force says it could bring economic opportunity and support its mission, but some neighbors are concerned about impacts close to home.
We want to make sure that our land is passed down to the next generation. If we build giant data centers that destroy the air and destroy the water, we're not going to be able to do that. Our land will not be there for the next generation. And so I just want to take a step back, slow down, and make sure that we're doing the right thing with this, that these data centers are not going to harm our community.
And we asked the Department of the Air Force for an interview and with questions about the effort, but have not heard back. And the Nashville Zoo is pushing back against a proposed data center planned next to its property. Zoo leaders say its effect on the center could have. Zoo leaders say it's the effect the center could have on its 3,000 residents. Patsy Montesinos reports.
1.4 million visitors pass through the gates of the Nashville Zoo in 2025.
Well, you have a real nice variety of different animals.
We like it a lot, and we like to let her come here and see the animals.
Yeah, I love it.
As CEO Rick Short says they are getting ready for the largest project in zoo history.
To be a $65 million exhibit featured around Indonesia, has orangutans, clouded leopards, tree kangaroos, underwater viewing of otters, giant hornbills, bird of paradise. It's going to be an amazing project.
But a company called DC Blocks wants to build a nearly 70,000 square foot data center in South Nashville, right on the edge of zoo property.
They're very known for, the light pollution, noise pollution, danger to the environment.
Short says the team worries about how this could affect their 3,000 animals.
We have some of the most delicate and rarest animals in the world, specifically our clouded leopard, which is our signature species. We bred more than anyone else in the world. We just had our 50th baby born, and they're very sensitive to mechanical noises and light infiltration.
DC Block says their facility will not be an AI factory draining local resources. They promise a waterless cooling system to pay for all power they use, fund new infrastructure, and keep noise at acceptable levels. But still, an online petition against the project has more than 180,000 signatures.
So we want the community exactly that, to stand with us to help fight against this data center. There's got to be a better place that it can go instead of around the #1 attraction that's focused on animals and children.
Now, there are already 60 data centers up and running in Tennessee. The Tennessee Valley Authority projects a doubling in growth by 2030. Apple unveiled a new version of Siri at its Worldwide Developers Conference on Monday. The update for the 15-year-old digital helper comes as Apple aims to keep pace with competing helpers, including ChatGPT and Gemini. And the new version, rebranded as Siri AI, is available on all devices on a standalone app. Apple also announced upgrades for its iPhone, Mac, and iPad, alongside new child safety features. The announcement could mark the last big moment for Tim Cook before he steps down as Apple's CEO. LinkedIn's latest workforce report found hiring rates are nearly 5% lower than a year ago and nearly 20% lower than before the pandemic. Career experts say the key to standing out is translating your daily duties into measurable accomplishments and highlighting any leadership, mentorship, or team management experience.
To get that call back, you're going to be wanted really strategic in terms of where you're applying based on your skills and experience. Focus on being the right fit. That's your key. And then you also want to lean into your network. It's really important that you are stepping into that network and asking for help.
Now, experts say job seekers should also be really selective about using AI when applying, and also rewrite your resume in your own voice. And speaking of AI, Friday's job report shattered expectations with federal data showing the U.S. economy at 172,000 jobs in May. But with the labor market potentially stabilizing after a year of weak and stilted job growth, how can you best position yourself if you're a job seeker? Michael Yoshida joins us with tips on how to stand out in today's job market, where artificial intelligence is playing a bigger part of the hiring process.
Job hunting in a world of artificial intelligence.
There's a lot of different ways employers are using AI, but essentially they're using it in the first stage of hiring.
Before your application ever gets to a human, it might need to pass a first-round screening by AI. Indeed's Priya Rathod says that's why job seekers should also be using the technology. One key way to help is with what she calls keywording.
What does the job posting say, and how does your skills and experience match that? Make sure the wording corresponds, right? Because that's what the AI is looking for to pass you on to the next level.
But to keep you from getting lost in a flood of cut and paste AI applications, remember this.
In this world of everyone using AI to optimize their resume and cover letter, we're losing some of that individuality and that uniqueness, and you want to make sure you're highlighting that.
That could be laying out specific examples of impacts you've had, such as how you made a certain project more successful, what the goal was, and how you achieved that for your employer. And while AI tools make it easier for you to mass apply to lots of different openings, Rathod says you'll have more success by being targeted and applying only to positions that truly make sense for your skills and experiences.
You can't just keyword match and have the wrong experience. Eventually, you are going to get to a human, and they're going to want to see that what you put on that resume and cover letter and profile matches what you're saying in person.
I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
And dozens of 9/11 claims processors are being added to help survivors get medical care. Now, it's a move that comes about a year and a half after the federal government cut positions to cut costs. But critics said 9/11 survivors suffered slow claims that cost them quick access to health care. And national investigative reporter Carice Jackman looks into concerns that even with restored staffing, the backlog will take a long time to clear. We're going to have that story for you, and then afterwards I'm going to talk to Carice and ask a few questions about the story, so just make sure to stick around for that one. So here's Carice Jackman with her report.
Job hunting in a world of artificial intelligence.
It was a day America promised to never forget.
And as I walked out the door, pieces of paper on fire came down in front of me. It was surreal.
I'll never forget my wife screaming at me on the phone, "Get out of there."
Show me or tell me what you're looking at for me.
This is an album that was put together by my roommates that I was sharing an apartment with in Jersey City. They were amateur photographers.
The images in Tim Casey's album feel surreal.
It definitely threw me for a loop. I actually had to get out of the city after that. I couldn't live there.
He says it's hard to believe it's been a quarter of a century since the September 11th attacks took the lives of nearly 3,000 people in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania.
I'm a 9/11 survivor. I was on the last PATH train into the World Trade Center on 9/11.
In 2018, the debris and dust cloud seared into Casey's memory reared its head again, this time within his body, in the form of cancer.
It turned out it was a very common, one of the most common lung cancers that came out of 9/11.
Since the attacks, 9/11 related illnesses have continued to increase. You can see the numbers growing here. People filing with the World Trade Center Health Program, which serves over 125,000 first responders and survivors from across the country by providing medical monitoring and treatment for 9/11 related health conditions.
Right through here, need a bucket line.
But those close to 9/11 survivors say they're not getting the care they need on time.
On Wednesday.
In the years following the attacks, attorney Michael Barish represented close to 50,000 people in the 9/11 community.
Now the health program is fully funded, which is great. And you would think, well, now we can just represent our clients and we don't have to lobby anymore.
He says he's watched the number of enrollees climb while staffing decreased.
Were you unaware or were you aware that the decision to cut NIOSH staff would cut that World Trade Center health program?
Well, you know, my agency is the biggest agency in government. It's twice the size of the Pentagon. It represents about 20% of the U.S. economy. We have hundreds of institutes and sub-agencies. We try to be as careful as we can about what we cut and what we didn't. We made a couple of mistakes.
No, I don't.
There will be continuity in that program. That's
Continue, yes, but at full strength of where it was before you were secretary?
The program itself will continue.
In April, lawmakers announced the World Trade Center Health Program has now been approved to fully staff up to 120 positions, adding 37 roles that will directly support the responders and survivors who rely on this care every day. Despite this news, advocates tell our national investigative team questions remain about the timeline of these hirings and what the certification process will look like for patients.
We're going to continue to push Secretary of HHS to continue to do the thing he promised, Secretary Kennedy promised, to meet the needs of this program, and we're going to hold him to it.
Our national investigative team has asked repeatedly for an on-camera interview with Secretary Kennedy. The agency has only responded in writing, saying in part, the World Trade Center Health Program's Clinical Centers of Excellence and nationwide provider network are continuing to provide services to program members at this time. Back in New York, this spring was the first time Casey returned to Ground Zero in 25 years. To honor their memory, to remember those who died years after the attacks, and for those still struggling to get the health care they need, Casey continues to fight, and more importantly, to remember.
Why do we have to keep going back as sick people to fight for it? Do the right thing. Never forget and do the right thing.
Now, HHS also told our national investigative team in an additional statement, quote, whether it's supporting coal miners and firefighters, safeguarding public health through lead prevention, or researching and tracking the most prevalent communicable diseases, enhancing the health and well-being of all Americans remains a top priority.
All right, Carice, for those who may not be in New York or D.C., why is this program still so important for survivors all these years later?
Well, it's important because many survivors have, one, moved out of the New York City area and have moved to other places. And then, if you remember back in 2001, many people from all 50 states came to volunteer to help with the cleanup, to help try to find any survivors that may be within the rubble. So we're noticing that even in Alaska, 1 to 49 members are enrolled right now in the World Trade Center Health Program. So it's very vital, and every state has seen somebody that has been impacted. And that is why it's still so important, even a quarter of a century later, to make sure that we're participating and also looking into the needs of this program to help the patients.
Grace, we know federal leaders were pressed about the cuts recently. What did they say?
Well, you know, we spoke with federal leaders, congressional leaders, really, from both sides of the aisle, both Republican and Democrat, who say, look, you know, this program is helping to save lives. We need to make sure that this program is, one, fully funded, which it is now, but also the staffing is up to par to help treat the patients and get them through and process in a timely manner. So we're seeing a lot of bipartisan support to make sure that this program is fully functional to help out the thousands of people, both 9/11 survivors and first responders, who are still in need of adequate care right now.
All right, and finally, people are still getting sick. Now, Chris, I understand you spoke with doctors. What did they say?
Yeah, they said, unfortunately, this is something that happens, right? Sometimes you may not notice the symptoms from the dust cloud that people were breathing in that day until years later. The man in our story, it was 17 years after the attacks and working around Ground Zero that he discovered that he had cancer that was certified within this program. So it's so important to pay attention. And within our article on investigatetv.com, we have an exclusive interview where we spoke with Mount Sinai doctors who talked about the symptoms and if you're noticing those symptoms and what to do. So again, it's so prevalent. I know it's a quarter of a century after the attacks, but people are still being impacted, and doctors do want people to know that as well.
All right, Chris Jackman with her Investigate TV report. Never forget, Chris, thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We're going to be taking another short break. When we come back, we're going to be taking a look at, as we get into the summer, people are still finding ways to take a vacation despite the rising costs of gasoline and of jet fuel. We're going to be taking a look at some of the ways people have been finding to save money where they can in those areas. And on top of that, as we get into the summer, we're going to be taking a look at some of the biggest skin health problems that people suffer from during these summer months, and we're going to be showing you what you can do to possibly avoid them. So don't go anywhere. We'll have those stories for you and more when we come back. Welcome back into the Morning Edition Extra. Thank you for staying with us today. Now, if you've looked at flight prices, gas prices, or hotel rates lately, you might have winced a little bit. But despite those high costs, it turns out Americans just aren't willing to give up their summer vacations. Consumer investigator Rachel DePompa explains how travelers are finding ways to make those summer memories without breaking the bank in this Watching Your Wallet.
Now, according to a new survey from Bank of America, 77% of us are still planning to hit the road this summer. Mary Hines-Drosch, the head of consumer and small business products for Bank of America, says to offset those costs, many Americans are making trade-offs and leaning on rewards points. She says many younger Americans are also travel stacking right now, which just means adding a few fun days onto a trip you already have to take.
So they're making the most of when they are traveling anyway. So if they have to go to a wedding, well, you've already bought your airfare or driven there, extending that to see the sights in the area. Or if you have a business trip, tag on a long weekend to explore a new spot you've never been to before.
Bank of America also found 46% of us plan to redeem rewards points this summer to help offset the cost of hotels or flights. Drosch says there are many little things you can do to save money.
Well, then you go to maybe instead of a 4-star hotel, a 3-star, or cut back on an excursion, cook in your hotel instead of going out every night. Other ways to really manage your budget and just prioritize the things that are most meaningful to you.
When budgeting, she recommends using the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your take-home pay goes towards needs, things like housing, groceries, utilities. 20% goes into savings, and 30% is for wants, like that vacation. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Now in national news, a memorial service for former Congressman Barney Frank was held Monday in Boston. Prominent local and national politicians, including Nancy Pelosi, spoke in remembrance of the late Massachusetts Democrat. Now in her remarks, Pelosi said America's working families have lost an iconic champion, but Frank's legacy lives on in the bills he wrote and the barriers he helped break down. He was known on Capitol Hill for being an outspoken progressive stalwart. He was also the first member of Congress to voluntarily come out as gay. Frank retired in 2013 after serving 3 decades. He lived in Agunquit, Maine with his husband until he died on May 19th at the age of 86. A Minnesota museum is trying to find a new home for a giant piece of American history. The Waseca County Historical Society is putting a massive 48-star U.S. battalion flag for sale after more than a year spent searching for its origins. The flag measures a sprawling 32 feet by 19 feet. Its 48-star design dates to between 1912 and 1959. Museum officials say the flag is too large and too fragile to store safely. Despite interviews with veterans, local officials, and longtime residents, no one's been able to explain exactly where it came from. Now, the Historical Society hopes someone can either solve the mystery or give the flag a permanent new home. And it's the time of year we spend more time outside, but the warmer weather can wreak havoc on our skin, leading to certain skin conditions or rashes that can be itchy and painful. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither talks to a dermatologist about 5 common skin problems he sees every summer and how to avoid them.
It's the downside of summer: sun exposure, sweatiness, and clogged pores.
We tend to be hotter, a little sweatier, and doing activities that cause friction.
Dr. Spencer Dunaway with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center says those factors combined can cause skin conditions to flare. The first common summer skin problem he sees is acne. Dunaway says it's important to wash sweat off before it dries and to change up your moisturizer for the summer.
Switching your nighttime cream to something a little less thick will be less likely to cause you to have an acne flare, but still provide enough moisture to protect the skin.
Next, dry, irritated skin. Dunaway says people tend to over-exfoliate. Using a light moisturizer can also help this problem. Third, folliculitis, or inflammation of hair follicles, which can lead to a rash. Avoid it by wearing looser clothing and washing off sweat from skin. Fourth, melasma, which causes dark, discolored facial patches. Sun exposure, pregnancy, and taking birth control pills can raise one's risk of this condition.
Protecting yourself with strong SPFs, even higher than what we'd normally recommend, such as SPF 50, is really useful for people that are on birth control pills or might be pregnant during the summer.
Finally, heat rash. Dunaway says it's the body's alarm system that a person's overheating.
So if you start to notice these prickly, itchy red bumps on the skin, especially on a really hot day, that's an important sign to cool yourself off. Seek shade or either get in some water.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
All right, we're going to be taking another short break, our last one of the program today, but when we come back, we still have some more stories to get to you. We have some World Cup themed stories, actually. We're going to be taking you to the soccer pitch to meet this week's Athlete of the Week from Alaska. And on top of that, as the World Cup is beginning to preparations going on and on for the World Cup, we're going to be showing you one nonprofit that's making sure that no one goes hungry and no food goes to waste. So don't go anywhere. We'll have those stories for you and more when we come back. Welcome back to the Morning Edition Extra. Thank you for being with us today. Now on the soccer pitch, Zofia Lucero has experienced a lot, from the highs of ending a season with a championship to the lows of season-ending injury. Tyler Lane tells us how our Athlete of the Week says she's ready for the next step.
At one point, Zofia Lucero was living every young athlete's dream. She was a state champion, an Arctic Winter Game medalist. Until one day at practice, when everything changed.
I just remember the ball coming in front of my foot, and as I stepped, my whole foot just rolled off the ball, and I just felt 4 quick pops.
Lucero had just suffered a torn ACL.
So I had to do PT for 2 weeks. It was literally like hell. I cried every day. But then things finally got better.
It seemed the hard part was over.
She called me and she said, "Dad, you need to come now." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
If only that were true.
I decided to try out for flag football, and then I tore my Achilles.
Zofia's father and Lady Lynx head coach Will Lucero couldn't believe it.
The doctors looked at the MRI and everything, and they're like, it doesn't really happen to young athletes.
After the Achilles surgery, I didn't know who I was, I guess. Without a sport, I didn't know what defined me.
Being a dad and seeing your child suffer and not having the right words because they've heard it all is a little discouraging at times, but you kind of find a way to give them the love that they need.
Throughout her recovery, Zofia received a lot of that from family, from friends, and eventually a few answers.
A state cup in Fairbanks was happening, And she's like, Dad, I'm gonna play. You know, my friends want me to play. I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. Driving back from Fairbanks, she was like, Dad, I'm falling back in love with the game.
It really pushed me every day to go to practice, not just to kick a ball around, but for the social part.
And it looks like Lucero is gonna get a hand as she trots off.
Today, Zofia has left the pitch on her own terms. This time, she knows what's next.
I plan to go down to Texas and study sports medicine. I just want to help people because I know how it feels to be really low. No one deserves to go through that alone.
Proof that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't getting back on the field, it's discovering who you are when you finally do.
I think I'm living proof of you can do it.
Tyler Lane, Alaska's news source.
And finally, Kansas City is hosting 6 World Cup matches, which are drawing hundreds of thousands of visitors and a lot of food. One nonprofit is making sure good food doesn't go to waste. Local News Live's Maya Engel shows us how on the good side.
What World Cup athletes eat for dinner could end up on a Kansas City family's table tonight.
We're taking surplus food and getting it onto family dinner tables.
That's the mission of Pete's Garden, a Kansas City nonprofit that rescues surplus food before it hits the trash and gets it to families who need it most.
It makes mom or dad's life a little bit easier because they don't have to cook that night.
And right now, the World Cup is about to take that mission to a whole new level.
We're going to pick up anywhere from 15 to 20,000 additional pounds of food.
Pete's Garden already serves about 1,000 families a week. But over the next 6 to 8 weeks, founder Tamara Weber says the World Cup changes everything.
That's probably about 10 to 15,000 meals, which will be about a 50% increase in what we normally would be getting out during June and July.
Here's how fast it moves. A hotel hosting one of the World Cup teams calls with leftovers from the night before. The chef keeps it all refrigerated, Pete's Garden picks it up, volunteers package it the same day, and just a few hours later,
probably on dinner tables tonight.
1 in 6 Kansas City kids lives in a food insecure household.
Right now, with grocery prices increasing, that number is also increasing.
And Tamara says the World Cup could not have come at a better time.
So every little bit helps.
The operation is powered almost entirely by volunteers, including former Kansas City star food critic John Martellero.
I figured, the least I can do is try to give back to people.
And his verdict on the food? No yellow card here.
Oh, I would give it 3 stars. Absolutely.
But for Tamara, rescuing food is only half the story.
We're giving families more time for family time.
Less time in the kitchen means more time with the people you love.
Increased family time is really the heart of it for me because that's how I grew up.
And as the World Cup puts Kansas City on the global stage, Pete's Garden is making sure the whole city gets to feel it.
It just shows that even though we're the smallest city that is supporting World Cup matches, we have the biggest heart.
That's going to wrap up today's Morning Edition Extra. Thank you again for joining us this Tuesday morning. We'll be back again tomorrow at the Digital Desk, same time, 7 a.m. So make sure to head to alaskasnewssource.com then to watch tomorrow's Morning Edition Extra. Also make sure to tune in to KTUU and KYS at noon today for the latest headlines going on around the state and around the country, bringing you the latest information that you need to know. And on top of that, make sure to just head to alaskasnewssource.com or our streaming platforms at any time to get the full details on these stories and even more stories. We'll be bringing you the latest information, everything going on around the state that you should know. So thanks again for tuning in to the Morning Edition Extra today on Alaska's News Source. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and a great rest of your week ahead. Take care.
Most of the activity will stay confined through